First-time buyers in England could buy a house at 20% below the market rate if the Conservatives are re-elected. The party say they'd build 100,000 new homes, which would be reserved for those under 40. Our business correspondent Joe Lynham reports.
Morning. The Prime Minister is keen to unearth those voters who can swing May's general election for the Conservatives. And he knows, as the economy recovers, that housing will be a key battleground.
We want to build some less expensive homes for our young people who work hard to buy, and that means exempting them from the usual regulations and charges and saying it's your home, you've worked hard, you've got to be under 40 to buy it, but it can't be bought by foreigners or buy-to-let landlords or people who want to turn a quick buck. It's proper starter homes for young people who work hard and do the right thing.
The Prime Minister says that if elected, he'd build 100,000 new homes in England at a 20% discount for first-time buyers. He says that's possible because they'd be built on brownfield sites or places which had been used previously. And the new homes would also be exempt from some taxes, energy standards and the requirement by builders to provide some social housing.
Well, clearly there's a concern about the new stock of property that is being proposed. Will it be effectively second-class housing? Will we miss the energy efficiency standards that is currently built into all new homes across the country? And are people going to be acquiring a substandard property which they are then going to have to sell on in the fullness of time?
While the big home builders have welcomed the Conservatives' proposal, Labour says it would build 200,000 new homes for everyone every year if elected. All parties, builders and home buyers know that the issue remains: how do you build houses quick enough to prevent home ownership from becoming the preserve of the wealthy? Joe Lynham, BBC News.
Well, you saw Henry Pryor there, the housing industry expert, and a short time ago he told me there are many unanswered questions about this proposal.
Here we are, 222 days out from a general election, and just as we saw from Manchester last week with a raft of housing policies from the Labour Party, the Conservatives, gathering as they are today in Birmingham, not surprisingly have come up with some of their own. This joins a raft of coalition policies: Help to Buy, Right to Buy, and yesterday's Rent to Buy. We haven't quite got a name for it yet, but the good news about this policy, perhaps for those who have a genuine concern about the nation's housing crisis, is it actually is a policy that's talking about building new houses. And if anybody would agree, if we have a consensus about what the problem is facing the country, it is that we need to build more homes. What the Prime Minister has been slightly vague about, what we've got to wait and see perhaps during the course of the week, is the detail of this. Is this 100,000 of the Conservative Party's aspirational 200,000 homes that they and Labour and the Liberal Democrats have all agreed is what needs to be built over the term of the next Parliament? And crucially, for dyed-in-the-wool Conservative Party voters, where are these new homes going to be built? It's very difficult to think. Brownfield sites is what the Prime Minister is talking about. Arguably, he's had 4.5 years to find the space on these brownfield sites to build these homes. We're going to learn more over the next week.
The detail, as you say, could be quite difficult, though, for someone trying to buy one of these houses. They could get tied up into, I mean, I know we're speculating, but they could get tied up into all sorts of things.
Well, inevitably, with this scheme comes the question marks about if you were to buy one of these properties or rent them in the short term, as the scheme talks about. When you came to buy that property, are you going to end up being forced to sell it on at a discount? 20% is what's being talked about for this particular scheme. And are you going to be restricted as to who you can sell it to? We've seen under the very controversial Right to Buy scheme, where tenants were able to purchase local authority properties, that people have been quite happy to take the additional profit when the time came to sell. What we need to know is whether these properties are going to continue to be available to those at the bottom end of the housing chain or housing ladder, so that they can climb on when the time comes.
And who's going to pay for this discount in the first place?
Well, that again is the detail that we need to get. Brownfield land frequently has an environmental cost when it comes to cleaning up and making it ready for new homes. And also, according to this initiative, we're going to see some of the taxes and some of the environmental issues put to one side in order to speed up the process. We've got a lot more to learn about it, but it's clear that we're in the run-up to a very much general election.
Henry Pryor there talking to me earlier.